Hi, it's Ray Mills, your VBA craftsman. I'm here to help you write your first Excel VBA macro. So it's actually pretty easy. So what I want to cover is adding the developer tab to your Excel ribbon, set up your desktop for editing in parts of the Visual Basic editor, the magic of the immediate window, build a basic Excel macro, and record a macro. We'll cover all those, and we're going to do it pretty quickly because we want to keep this vid short. So in order to add the developer tab, we need to go File, go down to Options, pull this over so you can see it, Customize Ribbon, and just make sure that developer tab is checked. Easy enough, right? Once we've got it added, in order to open up the Visual Basic Editor, go over here and we can either hit Alt F11 or we can just click on this image. Let's click on that image. Bam, there's my Visual Basic Editor. Oops, let's bring that boy back up. Okay. So, what we're going to be working on today is a little spreadsheet that we've put together of key performance indicators for a plumbing business. He had 1,226 house calls for the first quarter of the month, and he had some complaints. They asked for feedback, and we have the percentages here of the total amount of calls for the quarter. Our owner wants us to highlight anything that's greater than 2%, 2% or greater. So that's going to be really easy to do with Excel. We could do it with conditional formatting, but I like to do this as a perfect example to use VBA, just a nice simple one. Okay. I've added a new, but we're going to redo this. Let's remove that. Okay. No. So let's talk about the Visual Basic Editor. This is where your coding's going to happen. This is the immediate window. And remove this crap so you don't have to see it. And down here is the properties window. So if we select something, we'll know all the properties of it. It's very helpful when you're using, particularly when you're building a form, etc. Okay. So let's take a look at this and let's add our first macro. So let's add a module. Insert module. There we go. Pretty simple. Now every module starts with the sub and the title. My first macro. Really simple. Give a little space. Now, how do you annotate? Annotating means when someone's working behind you, or you come back to it later, and you're trying to figure out what you did, if you leave any annotation, a little bit of help to tell you what it is you actually worked on and how you did it, well, it's going to make your life a lot easier. So I highly suggest you annotate. The more you annotate, the better. Now here we're just going to put in some brief stuff just to demonstrate how you do it, and then you can do what I do later on is I add a ton of annotation, and it just makes for a better product. Okay, so we're going to start at the right place. Start at the top of the list. Okay, so our goal here is to run through this list and highlight anything that's greater than 2%, just for this first simple macro, right? So we're going to say range C9 dot select. Now VBA is a object-oriented language. Our object here is the range, and the method that we're using is select. Objects have methods and properties. So that'll get us to C9. And you know what? I want to make sure when I'm done, I'm going to copy this down here. I move back to the top of the list. We're going to start at A1, right? I mean, I'll put the cursor on A1. If you look over here, I'll put the cursor up on A1 before I run our macro. Okay, so we want to run through the list. So tab, do until active cell dot row equals to 15. And every do needs a loop. They're called do loops. Active cell dot offset 1, 0 dot select. Okay. So what this is going to do is it's going to do until the active cell row is 15. The property of the active cell is the row property. So right now we could use our immediate window to say, where are we now? I'm going to copy that. In the immediate window, you pose a question with the question mark, hit V, and the active cell is 1. If I had moved it over here, the active cell is 8. So you see that you can ask a question with the immediate window, or you can post a command. So how about we take, and then have me write it, copy and type it. How about we just say go to range A1, and there you see that it did it. It moved back up to A1. So you can ask questions with a question mark, or you can execute commands right away. Now I don't like that title. I'm going to call it BAS for basic. My first MACRO. And you could develop your own naming convention. Okay. So what it's going to do is it's going to go to C9. It's going to run through the list until you hit 15, and then it will stop because it will do until. And then it's going to move back to range A1. But we wanted to do something, right? Remember we talked about changing the color or highlighting if it's greater than 2? So if we say if active cell dot value is greater than or equal to, how about that, greater than or equal to 0.02, then we're going to do something, right? So we need to close the if. It's if and if. That's our if statement. So what do we do if that's true? Active cell dot interior, and you see the IntelliSense will help me type. That's the IntelliSense here. So we could click on it. And if we said dot color equals 255. Okay. Now I want to teach you about stepping through a macro. That's what it's referred to. If we click here, we put a break point here. Excel VBA, Visual Basic for Applications, runs linearly. It runs down the list. So let's watch. I hit this button to run it, and now it shows us where it is. Okay. So we're still up here, or we're still at A1. Let's watch. I'm going to hit F8 to step through the code. Wonderful stuff because you can step through some very complicated stuff and you can figure out what's going on. Do into active cell. So it doesn't do anything. All right. Is it greater than, we'll see where we are. We're on C9. If active cell value is greater than 0.02, I happen to know it's not. So it doesn't. The next one is, it's 2.1. Let's see if it does it. Yes, it made it red. No, it's not. Yes, it made it red again. I know it. And it goes on. And it's done. Okay? So what I want you to remember from this is to make sure you annotate and fool around with it. It's really easy. You can't do any damage. You can always undo. You don't have to save the workbook. So have fun with it. Thanks.